Welcome to episode 130 of How About the Huskies. As always, I'm your host, Connor, joined by Matt and Andrew, and for the first time this season, an off-season episode. These are always fun ones to do, talking about portal and recruiting, all that kind of stuff. If you're living under a rock, the Husky season ended last weekend to the one-seed Florida Gators in the round of 32, the same Gators that are playing in the Final Four in San Antonio this upcoming weekend. It's going to be a really exciting offseason for the Huskies. I feel like a lot of moving parts. Some players already entered the portal. One major player announced he would not be entering the portal, which to the naked eye, you'd think, why would a guy like that even announce he's coming back? But in the current state of college basketball, that's what they have to do. You have to say, I'm coming back. Don't worry, guys. That's what that player did. You know who he is, but I'm just not saying his name for the effect. We'll start with the two guys that announced already as of Sunday night that they are entering the portal. The two freshmen, Isaiah Abraham, and then the next day followed by Ahmad and Nowell. Neither of them really had too much of an impact on this year's team. Nowell more than Abraham. Nowell had some rotation games in Big East play. Both of them, it's a shame to see them go, but I definitely understand from their standpoint. What's your guys' thoughts about this? It's something we kind of saw coming, but now that it's actually happened, what do you guys think?
Well, unfortunately, this is kind of like the year before the 2023 national championship, where we had good contributions from Jordan Hawkins and decent contributions from Sampson, and then Rasul Diggins, and obviously the redshirted Corey Floyd. Two of them left, and two of them stayed and became champions. I feel like that's kind of the case with this one. It definitely sucks to most likely not return any freshmen from this class, but they're transferring. They feel like it's the best move for them and their family. You can't discredit them for that. But I kind of wish that some college kids would stay and grind their way up to their spot like Samson Johnson did, like Jordan Hawkins did, Andre Jackson, Adamas, we could go down the list. I just obviously you can't discredit them for making the move that they think is best, but I do kind of wish that the freshmen would at least give it another year, kind of like Jaden Ross and Jaylin Stewart and Solo Ball did after last year.
It definitely sucks. I mean, like Andrew said, you want to see these guys kind of develop and blossom into these, homegrown stars, which is weird to say about college, but the sad reality is that teams aren't built through recruitment anymore. Teams are built through the portal. It's essentially free agency. And I think I've been, grateful that UConn has been able to win two national championships in 2 years because we've kind of ascended ourselves into that top conversation where guys really want to go. So, I mean, like I said, it does kind of suck losing these two freshmen, but having a coach like Hurley who has proven time and time again that he could put teams together through the portal, it makes me feel a little bit better. And I mean, we're gonna get into talking about some guys that we feel would make a huge difference for the team next year. But um, just for now, best of luck to Ahmad and Isaiah. So, hopefully they find their spot.
Yeah, I don't have too many more thoughts on them leaving. Obviously, it is what it is. No hard feelings there, but I guess I'll have my old man yells at cloud moment here. I mean, look at Samson Johnson. He didn't play at all as a freshman. He was a starter as a sophomore, but got hurt and didn't play at all after he got hurt. And now he was a backup on a title team as a junior and a starter this past year and one of our better players. You look at Jaden Ross, didn't play at all on the title team. Solo Ball didn't play much. These guys didn't play much, but they had impacts down the line. I feel like maybe that would have been the case with Ahmad and Abraham, especially Ahmad, seeing he was a guy that was playing in some big games down the stretch, games that the Huskies needed to win to avoid really falling onto the bubble. Obviously, it's their choice to transfer, and I don't blame them if they don't see a if they want to play, which I feel like all college kids should want to play, and you don't see a vision for yourself to play. I don't blame you. I mean, Abraham, he played November 30th. I'm pretty sure his next game was March 1st. He was healthy that whole time. He just never got into the game. That's got to be tough. I feel like you want to be out there helping your teammates try to win. Noel, he was banged up in and out of the lineup. He was in and out even when he was healthy. It's just like I said, I'm not surprised, but I feel like if they stuck it out and they kind of followed the path of some of these other young Huskies that didn't really play much as freshmen and developed into pretty solid players, I feel like that would have been interesting. But good luck to them, as you said, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, you can go down this line. Andrew mentioned Jordan Hawkins, someone who didn't really play too many quality minutes as a freshman, bloomed in his sophomore year. You go look a little bit before that, James Booknight, another one, didn't play too many quality minutes in his freshman year and blossomed. Those guys were both lottery picks. And I mean, even this most recent year with Solo Ball, he's another one who, if he fixes a couple of his tools on defense, he could have been a lottery pick. And I feel like, there's a little bit of selfishness now, just in the college game where these guys want to make a bag and they want to play, but in the long run, I mean, if you transfer to somewhere like Cincinnati or like a New Mexico State where you're going to be playing all the time, you're not going to be looked at that much by these pro teams and someone like Ahmad Noel who was playing in these games. I mean, part of me thinks he was going to be a huge piece for us next year and he was going to play solid minutes. He had that opportunity to take that jump. But I mean, it's what the college game is kind of going to now, and I mean Hurley doesn't seem to have begged him to stay or begged Abraham to stay. So I think we're in good hands.
Yeah, I feel like there's conversations behind the scenes where Hurley's honest to the guys. So he could easily say, Ahmad, you're going to be our starting point guard next year. I feel like he didn't say that because if he did, Ahmad would not be in the transfer portal right now. I just feel like it is what it is at the end of the day. I don't want to get too deep into it because like I just said, that's behind the scenes stuff. We don't know what's behind the scenes. All I know is they're probably going to kill it wherever they go. I feel like you don't see too many instances where guys transfer out of UConn and struggle. I feel look at Josh Carlton. He went to the Final Four at Houston. Jalen Gaffney was a solid rotation player. Rasul Diggins wasn't the greatest Husky of all time, but he had a pretty solid career when it's all said and done at UMass. All those type of guys, I feel like I can see Nowell maybe going to maybe Power Five's a stretch, but I feel like he'll at least be looked at by Power Five schools. Abraham, he's kind of a wild card because he didn't really play at all this year. He doesn't have too much to go off of. But yeah, I feel like they're gonna kill it wherever they go, and I'm certainly gonna be following them, be fans of them, as I am with all Husky transfers.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing because you have this talent. Obviously, they're very talented. They weren't recruited here for no reason. But at the same time, you can't have that talent just sitting on the bench wasting because that's not good for them or the team or really anybody. So you kind of have to get them to make the right decision for them because having them sit on the bench, even though they're still on the team with this talent, really wouldn't be good for anybody.
And one guy that announced he's not entering the portal after some rumors that he would. Rumors, I don't know where they spawned from, but rumors that did exist out there. Jaylin Stewart will be returning for his junior year in stores. He was poised for a big leap this year. He definitely took a leap from his freshman year. Huge leap, I wouldn't say that, but he definitely had some very high highs and had some struggling, some very low lows. But I feel like he's a guy who's going to be a starter for this team as a junior next year, at least going into the season as of right now. I'm really excited for that. I'm glad that he announced he's coming back. I feel like over the next few days, maybe even by the time this video is out, we'll hear about some more guys confirming they're coming back. What's your guys' initial reaction hearing that Jay Stu's coming back? I know it has to be great.
You mentioned in the beginning that the fact that kids need to make this announcement is kind of weird, but I think it's good because I think that this announcement will probably pull more guys back in. You could be Indiana where every player transfers, or Xavier where every player transfers and um, there reopens their recruitment. So could be worse, obviously, but I feel like this announcement of him being bought in for next season this early, not really even exploring the portal. I think it's going to bring guys like possibly Solo Ball back. He's probably considering transferring. It would be, I don't think it'd be the right move for him personally, but guys like Terrace Reed as well could be pulled right back in. But I think you can take your wins where you get them because while this is fantastic for the program, I think this may end the Caravan coming back theory, but we don't know for sure. That's just my speculation. But I feel like this will probably end up making it official.
And Stu coming back is a pretty big deal because he kind of fits that slot where the freshmen don't. You look at Adams, Mullins, Furphy, and Ryba. I mean, you could build a lineup around Stu with those four, and I mean, you'd be perfectly fine. So worst comes to worst, you got a starting five. You just need to plug in the pieces. But like you said, it's great that he ended up coming back. I do believe that kind of reaction to that and the like everybody from UConn and UConn fans' reaction to Stu making a simple announcement like he's just coming to play again next year, which before the portal, that would have been a no-brainer. It's just like you hope to kind of see a reaction out of these guys. Bringing Solo back would be awesome. Bringing Mahaney back would be awesome. Bringing all these guys back would be awesome. So I mean, like I said, hopefully it just kind of starts a little bit of a chain reaction. Everybody can kind of, get behind each other. You can bring this team back, and I mean, you could add some key pieces, and who knows, you could be making another deep run into March next year.
Obviously, you have to utilize the portal and add players like we've always done every year. You have to bring in freshmen. But bringing back a solid core of guys, especially guys that played the year before, is really underrated. I feel like you see a bunch of these teams, like look at Purdue. They have pretty much all players that they retain year in and year out. Houston, they get a transfer here and now, but they've had the same core for the most part. These are some of the top teams in the country. Duke, they brought in some transfers, but they're a bunch of freshmen. Duke's a really good team. I don't know why I added them in there because they're not really that old. But I feel like bringing back Jay Stu is an amazing first step. You mentioned solo ball. I feel like I don't really imagine a world where he would enter the portal unless he gets poached by someone, which is also very possible. Someone could just give him an absurd amount of money, which you almost have to take if that's the case. Terrace Reed's a guy who's been in a lot of rumors that he could enter the portal. He's a guy that could get poached by another school. There's a couple of schools I saw rumored. I'm not sure how true that is, so I'm not going to say the name of those schools on this podcast. But he's another guy who I feel like has it great here. He's a guy, if he comes back, he's an all Big East first team preseason selection and a guy that could very easily win Big East Player of the Year in starting minutes with not having to split it with Sampson anymore. He's probably split with Ryba, but that's a different story for deeper into the offseason. But yeah, I feel like bringing back those two, that's three guys. And say you get Caravan, that's another guy who's on the fence. I feel like did he improve his draft stock this year? Not really, but he also graduated. So what do you want to do a grad year at UConn? It's about a lot of tough decision. And every interview I've seen with Caravan, it's been a tough decision for him. So that'll be interesting. And then the other guys like Mahaney, Jaden Ross, Yusuf Singara, I feel like we don't know any insight on what their decision or what's going through their minds, but I see a lot of people saying it's 50-50 with all of those guys. Could they portal? Could they not? I feel like any of those guys come back, it certainly really helps the team, especially just the what's the word? I was about to say, is it consistency? No, it's like continuity. Continuity is the word I'm looking for. Bringing those guys back, even if they didn't play too much, just having them, they know the system. You could throw them in there if you need them to. Mahaney's a guy I feel like he would have to probably accept the role he was in this year, which if he wants to, that's awesome. If not, don't blame him for wanting to go maybe start somewhere. Jaden Ross, another guy who probably wouldn't play as much next year, but maybe he can make that jump that Hurley claimed that he did before the season, which clearly he did not. And Singara, I mean, I don't blame him for going. He hasn't played in 2 years, but he if he loves it, he loves it. But yeah, that's really where we stand on all the guys that haven't decided. There's a bunch of 50-50s, some leaning yes, I'd assume, but like I said, we don't have any real true insight on their decisions.
And I'm looking at the graph right now. We really only have one scholarship right now. I mean, you lose Nowell and Abraham. Um, so you have one scholarship. You lose McNeely, assuming that's two, and then I mean Youssef and Terrace and Caravan. I mean, it could really flip over here. I mean, there's a good chance that we bring back that core, like you said, with all those guys, but I also feel like there's just as good of a chance that this is a brand new team next year. I like don't want to get too in deep now because I feel like things could change just in the blink of an eye. You could go from, like I said, one scholarship to five in a week. So let's just kind of take this day by day and I mean go from there.
Yeah, that's what you have to do day by day. You don't want to make a guess and be wrong. Like, I don't want to say, I feel like Jaden Ross is going to enter the portal. I don't see him playing here next year. Then he comes back and starts. Like, we don't want to be that type of podcast, but we can do some fun speculating with guys that we could potentially be targeting in the transfer portal. I've been kind of keeping track of a list here of guys that we've been in contact with. This is what I have right now. We have Bryce Lindsey, who's a guard from James Madison. Jaden Young, a guard from Virginia Tech. Amari Monroe, who's a forward slash slasher at Quinnipiac. Silas Damari Jr. from Georgia. He's a guy I saw we've been really linked with as a bunch of other teams as well. Malachi Smith, he's a little guard at Dayton. Don't really love that fit, but we reached out to him, so maybe the staff likes him, so I like him too. And then Keyshawn Hall, who balled out at UCF and has a long list of suitors as well. Those are the six names that I've seen us officially linked with, like in tweets online. Like, this guy has heard from the following schools, and UConn's involved in it. Out of those guys, which of them really sticks out to you as potential targets you want to see the Huskies add for 25, 26?
I think it's Demary. Honestly, I'm between him and the kid from Quinnipiac, but I think that Demary would be the best option because he averaged, I think, 13 points a game. But I think that he'd be perfect for that two position, or even maybe just a one, but not necessarily a point guard. Kind of use him as like a Tristan Newton, but I can see him fitting into this system because I don't think that Mullins or Adams would start right off the bat. I don't. I don't know. They'd have to make a really convincing case. And even if they did, I think that DeMary would be good in the starting lineup with a Solo and a Stewart. I think that a 1-2 punch of him and Solo, and then maybe Mullins at the 3 with Stewart and possibly Reed at the 5. I mean, I would be a really good starting lineup. But if I were to pick one, it'd probably be DeMary.
And none of these guys, I mean, they're all pretty solid players, especially Demaria, like Andrew mentioned, but none of them stick out. I don't know why. None of them are sticking out to me as that program changing transfer that you want to bring in. I feel like we've kind of just reached the tip of the iceberg with it. But like Andrew mentioned, we do need a guard. Obviously, everybody in the world would have loved Bennett Sturts, but that's not what's going to happen. Obviously, I'm already going to Iowa, but I would definitely go with Demary. I'm not sure if we're going to jump into it a little bit, but there are other guys who we have not reached out to yet, that I do think would make a better fit.
Well, in the past couple of years, we've learned that we don't always need the top guys. After the whole dilemma with 9 people leaving, we were on the list for Terrence Shannon, Andre Curbelo, and Tristan Newton, and everybody was set. Oh, I want Curbelo. I want Shannon. I don't think Newton's going to be all that great. He averaged a ton in the ACC, but what does that bring to the Big East? That brings 2 national championship rings, if you were wondering. And then the following year, Nick Timberland, Townsend transfer, really high on UConn, everybody high on him, commits to Kansas, and then one June night, we get this random guy named Cam Spencer, and he helps bring home number 6. So I feel like we have to trust Dan Hurley. Obviously this year's a little bit different with the transfers, but in general, I feel like we got to trust him.
Yeah, you have to trust Hurley. There's a reason there's 1,300 dudes in the transfer portal right now, and I just listed 6 that we confirmed UConn's talked to. He picks his spots. I feel like these 6 guys. I'll talk a little about Monroe because I have watched him play probably at least a couple dozen times at Quinnipiac over the past 2 years. The best way to explain him is like his play style. He's like Tyrese Martin, but more athletic and less of a shooter. He kind of plays that similar gritty. He averaged 9 rebounds a game, had like 15 double doubles this year. He's only 6'7", maybe 6'8". He's undersized. He'd probably be like a 4 for us. I don't really love the fit because his shot it's a work in progress, and I feel like that's not really what you want to add at your 4 position, especially how we've had stretch fours and Alex Caravan over the past 3 years. I feel like it'd be a bit of an adjustment, but I also Keyshawn Hall is a guy who he averaged like 17 in the Big 12, so you kind of gotta you can't really overlook that. The rest of them I don't really know too much about. I know Bryce Lindsey, the first guy we confirmed to be in contact with was the Sun Belt Rookie of the Year, I'm pretty sure, this past year, James Madison, so certainly some talent there. But as Matt alluded to, there is a bunch of guys, approximately 1,300, we have not reached out to. Do you guys have any that stick out? And this doesn't have to be super realistic. Obviously, if you want it to be a can, but is there any names like, let's say, one realistic target you feel like we haven't reached out to, and then maybe one dream target that would really help the team and propel them to the top? Or you can just choose one or the other. I don't really care.
I think staying within the Big East would be a smart idea. Getting guys who have played in the Big East and understand what it takes, and like I said, not only played but have thrived. Ryan Conwell is a name that I really like from Xavier. He was a beast this year, along with RJ Lewis, who just recently entered the portal. Someone sent that to the group chat, and I was like, if we get RJ Lewis, we win a natty. And I really do believe that RJ Lewis is the kind of point guard that Dan Hurley loves. He's a taller guard who can go out there and make plays and defend 4 positions almost. But I do have one more kind of fun one. It's a familiar name that we've talked about here in the past. As a freshman, you almost brought him in. I can't remember where he went originally. Transferred to Indiana, and now he's in the portal again. Mackenzie Mbako, I think that's how you pronounce it. Power forward. We've stolen someone from Indiana before. We can definitely do it again. And I mean, could you just imagine that front court with Mbako and Terrace? I mean, they would just dominate teams, and then you bring Ryba off the bench, and it would be a crazy change of pace. And a really athletic 4, I feel like for us would change a lot, especially with Stu coming back and Solo. I mean, we would dominate teams offensively.
I also like the idea of staying in conference. And for that 4 that Matt just talked about, I'm honestly looking at Dalen Swain from Xavier, averaged 11, 5.5, and 2.6. This Xavier team is completely decimated at this point. Richard Pitino is going to have a lot of work to do once he gets sets down in Cincinnati. But I think Swain would be a really good fit for us because I feel like he kind of fit that four that we were just talking about with Caravan and even years before that, guys like Whaley. So I feel like he would fit that role pretty well, and he's a Big East guy. So if I had to, like I said, I don't think we need to go after the top. Would RJ Lewis be great? Sure, but we don't need guys like that necessarily. So I think that Swain would be a pretty good fit for this program.
Yeah, Lewis is also a guy I personally feel like he's still gonna go pro. And in the event he decides to not go pro, he'd portal. It's funny how Rick Pitino scared him away in those last 5 minutes, having him on the bench when they lost in that round of 32 game. But a couple names that I like, and I'll go out of the Big East, and this is just some guys that I've either seen play in person or just know how talented they are. This sounds a little weird, but Max Green with Holy Cross, I've been all over him since I saw him play in December. He's 6'6". He averaged like 14, 5 and 5 or something like that. He can make threes. He's not really the strongest guy, so he'd probably need to hit the weight room, but that's just I mean, he's a bit of an under the radar guy. Also looking at the forward position, I feel like if we were to lose a Caravan, we'd need to replenish there. I like Taylor Bull Bowen from Florida State. He's a guy who played, Andrew, I know you mentioned in our group chat, he played with Solo Ball at Brewster Academy. I believe that's the correct school. He's a guy who could easily replace some minutes at the four. Also, Blake Harper, who was, I believe, the freshman of the year in the MEAC with Howard. I saw RJ Cole had a tweet with the eyes emojis when he saw Harper enter the portal. So, RJ, I know you've been on the pod before. If you're listening to this episode by chance, work your magic. Get Blake Harper up the stores. But there's certainly a bunch of guys that aren't even entering the portal yet that'll certainly be targets. I know the staff is really honing in on point guard right now. I see like all the stuff that they're trying to get the top point guards in on Zoom calls and stuff like that, trying to really narrow it down. I feel like we're gonna see some news fairly soon after this episode is posted. I feel like we're gonna see some news regarding the Huskies, whether it's announcement someone staying, going, maybe even a transfer, or maybe some guys add to our list. There's a bunch of stuff that can happen. It's gonna be a pretty busy week. I kind of love/hate that the portal is open right now during the NCAA tournament because lets us get a head start on everything. But at the same time, like we were still playing this time the past 2 years, and we didn't have that head start. Which I guess we didn't have the head start, and it worked out for us because Cam Spencer committed in June, Mahaney was in April, Reed was in April. I'm trying to think who else. All those other guys were, I think, May back in 23. So just because we have the head start doesn't mean we're going to find the perfect guys. It's still a really work in progress that the staff's gonna have to figure out. But you guys had anything else here? This is not the longest episode. Just wanted to do a check in a week after the season ended. Really, just to check on you guys, see how you guys are doing, coping with the loss. But Florida's a really good team, and I think is going to play at least for a national championship, maybe even win the whole thing. But yeah, next time you hear from us, like I said after the last one, probably next time there's news. I mean, I feel like two people transferring out and one announcing his return counts as news for me. Will we do another one very quickly? Maybe. If like Solo Ball enters the portal, I feel like we almost have to do an episode. But unless something crazy like that happens, I don't think you'll hear from us probably for a few days. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in as always. First episode of the off season, hopefully first of many. Thanks for watching.